Hello everyone and welcome to another review. In this review, we're going to be checking out a brand new Rivals blaster, one that we just kind of got information on not too long ago, and it is now sneaking its way into Target stockrooms across the US. I'll have a DPCI code in the description if you want to go see if it's near you, but it was near me, and that's why this video is about the Nerf Rival Artemis, a slam fire pump action top-ish, front load-ish kind of thing that will be rolling out into the Nerf Rival line sometime soon. But this is the blaster, and usually people don't really care about the box too much. It's just like, oh, blasters that are also in the line. But there's one thing about this box that might excite some of you. On the side here, there are two accessories being advertised as coming out soon for the Rival line, a flashlight grip and a red dot sight. I know a lot of you like red dot sights, so now Nerf is going to be releasing an official Rival one, which is pretty cool. But enough about that, let's open up this box and see what all we get. Inside the box you get 30 Rival rounds, you get an instructional pamphlet, and you get the Artemis itself. As soon as you get it out of the box, you'll notice that the Artemis is quite compact. If we compare it to a Zeus, even one that doesn't have the extension of the barrel on the front, and hold it up side by side, you can see just how small the Artemis is, especially when you think about the 30 rounds that it holds, and they all store right up here in these 3 clear tubes. How to load it: you take this little piece right here, slide it all the way back, which will open up the tubes. You take your balls and you just push them in, and each one of these tubes will hold 10. So let's just say I filled up all 10 right here. Once you're done, you take this bit and you just slide it all the way forward, prime it back, which will rotate this front little thing right here, and fire it off. And that's all you have to do to fire off the Artemis. As I said earlier, the Artemis does have slam fire, so you can slam fire off your rounds, and it also has 1 tack rail and 2 sling points on the back. In terms of comfort, the Artemis is quite comfortable. My only concern with it is this little ridge right here on the grip. My finger doesn't slot into it well. I don't really know why it's there. It seems like your finger would have to be really small to get in a comfortable position right along that ridgy area. But if you were to cut that down, this thing would be a really comfortable blaster. Even with the squarish kind of oval front grip, it fits my hand really well. The blaster is pretty light. It feels really solid, and I just like the feel of it overall. Very, very comfortable for its size. On the side of the Artemis, you have a trigger lock, which locks the triggers for when you don't want it to accidentally fire off. To turn it off, you just push the button back out, and there you go. And you also have this little thing right here. I'm not entirely sure what it does because the instructions don't even mention it, but it slides down when you prime it. It doesn't really do much. You can't really push it back in place when it's down, and then it comes back up once you prime it all the way forward. I'm not really sure what it is, so if anyone knows what that thing does other than clear a jam, which is what I'm guessing it's for, please let me know in the comment section below. And this little hole right there on the back, and it's also in the middle of the word Rival, is your indicator for when the thing is primed. It's really hard to tell when the indicator is on, besides you knowing that you've primed it, because it's orange and it kind of blends in with the red on the side there. It's a really bad indicator. They should have put something like green or white to show you it's primed, other than you just knowing, which I don't know. Some people like it, I guess. Just like with the Apollo, there is no jam door on this blaster, which I can see as a negative towards the blaster because it will require you to have some sort of ramrod stick. With that said, I have not had any jams with this blaster yet, so knock on wood about that. I don't have any wood. Some of you might be wondering if you'll have a misfire or a skip if you don't put balls into either 1 or 2 of the internal magazines on the Artemis, and the answer to that is you do not have to worry about that. Unlike the Ergonomics, where you would fill up the chambers, and if one of the chambers didn't have a disc in it, it would just dry fire, then turn and turn until you actually had a stack of discs somewhere in the drum. This blaster gets around that with a pretty unique feeding system. So when you prime the blaster, the barrels up here turn, and when you push it forward, they line up with everything. The balls get pushed into any open barrel that they can find. So after you fire this off once, you turn it, a ball will get pushed into this barrel. If there's no balls in this and you fire it off, it'll go to the next barrel where it will wait for a ball to enter. If it doesn't have a ball enter and you fire it off, it will go to the next one where it will probably have a ball pushed into it. If there's a ball already in it, then it does not let the magazine push a new ball into it. With that said though, you might occasionally have a double feed when you first load up the blaster. Since there's more pressure pushing the balls into the barrels, you might get 2 in there instead of 1. but then you just have a shotgun effect, so it's okay in my book. I think I've covered all the basics of the Artemis, how it works, its comfort, the different accessories, the different parts. So let's take this thing outside, put it through a chronograph, and see how well it shoots. Now it's time to go over the pros and cons of the blaster and whether or not I think it's worth your money. So we're going to start with the pros. The first pro I have with the Artemis is the size. It doesn't feel too small like with the Apollo. Like if you want to shoulder the Apollo, it's really weird. And then you have the Prime on the top. The Artemis feels nice and hefty, but in a very compact package. You can fire it from the hip, you can fire it up here, no problems with the size. I really dig how small it is. The second pro I have for this is the comfort. This blaster is very comfortable to use, it feels good, and the priming for it is very smooth, especially when you're slam firing. Buttery smooth prime, even with that gear system making that ratcheting sound. If you've primed the Apollo, you know how just gross it feels. This feels excellent to use. Everything about it is just nice and consistent. An excellent experience overall. The next pro is more of a neutral to me because I like magazine style loading blasters, but a lot of people like loading on the fly, and the Artemis does it in a really good way with this kind of multi-pro system going on with it. The first is that it has access to all 3 built-in magazines, which is excellent, but they also don't allow the balls to just drop in. You actually have to push them in place, and it makes it really hard for the balls to fly out when you're running. Like I've tried, I cannot shake them out, which is excellent. And there's also a cool little trick feature to it. Say you need to shoot the blaster, but you only have the balls in your hand. Well, you can load the balls and squish them up into the barrels and fire them off. But you can also shotgun them if you really want to. You now have a shotgun effect that's very easy to do and very simple to do. It's just excellent. It's a multi-stage pro system for the loading. Like I said, I prefer magazines, but this thing does loading on the fly very well, and the shotgun action is just awesome if you really ever need it. There's 2 cons that I can think of when it comes to the Artemis as of making this video. If I think of any more, I'll put them in the description or put them in the comment section. The first one is going to be a bit hypocritical of me to say, and that is it is loud. This blaster is very loud when you shoot it. Now, I know some of you are going to say, but Bobo, you say loud is a great thing in the forums and on Reddit and stuff. And yes, loudness is an excellent thing to have when you have a flywheel blaster, because you can rev the flywheel blaster without shooting it and scare off zombies who may be new to HVZ or those who haven't really gone up against really powerful flywheel builds. It works. I have proof it works. Other people know it works, and it's great to have with a flywheel blaster. This blaster is just really loud. I don't know why, but it's just really loud to the point where I thought I was bothering my neighbors during the firing demonstration. So if you don't like a loud blaster, don't get the Artemis, because that's what you're getting. Now when you dry fire, it's okay. It's not bad. But when you have a ball, it's pow, pow. Slam fire is really annoying with this thing just because of how much banging there is going off. But this blaster is stupidly loud. The second con with this blaster is there's no jam door, and there's really no way for me to know how you would get a jam out without getting like a stick with little grabbers on the end of it, because the jam will happen probably down in this barrel or as it's turning. This blaster really seems good at avoiding jams and just turning accidental loads into shotgun rounds, which is awesome, but I don't like the idea of possibly having a jam and having to use a stick to get it out. That's time wasted, and if you've had a jam with the Apollo, you know how frustrating it can be to try and get everything out of it. So no jams yet, but I'm sure there's going to be at least one in the future sometime soon, knock on wood. Even if it doesn't jam ever, it's just the idea of having to clear something out with a stick that I really don't like. It needs a jam door. The price of the Artemis comes in at $44.99, which to a lot of people is going to be pretty expensive. I'm not surprised by this because the Rival line is filled with some pretty expensive blasters, especially the Chaos. So to hear that it's $45 for this, which is a bit less than the Zeus, I'm not really taken aback by that, but it does put me on a fence of, I really see it not being worth that price, but a lot of people are going to really like this, especially if they're into loading on the fly. It's a blaster that works very smoothly. Everything just kind of works. I haven't had any jams with it. The loading is really good. Like, it's so good. The shotgunning is excellent. The balls don't fly out when you're running around. It's super easy to do. So all that is excellent. But for a little bit more, you can pay for a Zeus, which has mod potential to it. You can put a lipo in it. You can get it hitting those really hard FPSs, and you can even make it automatic. You can make a hurricane out of it. The Zeus has a lot of potential. This doesn't seem like there's a lot of potential for modding. Out of Dart's made a video going over the internals of it. It has a gearing system. It's wonky to get open. It just doesn't look like there's a lot of potential to it. So if you're going to get this blaster, expect to go in leaving it stock forever, or until we figure out how to make Metal Gears really, really cheap or something like that. So for some people, this blaster is going to be worth it. But for me, I think it's a bit too much, but I'm not surprised because it's the Rival line. I do really like it. I think it's an awesome blaster. It just works really, really well. So I'm glad I purchased it. I'm actually happy with this purchase, even with the higher price. If you are interested in getting one, I'll have a DPCI code in the description until I can get like an Amazon link or a Target link or something like that. So you're gonna have to go use a DPCI search for it, call up your Target, get them to go in the back room and look for you for now. But there you go. That was a look at the Nerf Rival Artemis, the newest addition to the Rival line. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have a great day wherever you are!